So let's go deeper in Virgo season right now into the sign of Virgo and the subtle pulsing quality of Virgo as the medicine woman, as the sovereign, as the maiden, as the divine feminine, who wants to give us a message for this time in 2025. Now, this is highlighted because there are two new moons in Virgo. That's really rare. And there's an eclipse inside of Virgo, Pisces and Virgo, rebooting this area of your chart, but also rebooting the consciousness of the divine feminine for our time inside of us. And this transmission, I'd love for you to add to it inside the comments. Put what you're receiving so that we can weave together. We can read each other's comments and we can weave together a deeper understanding of what's happening right now. So as I was doing those transmissions on the new moon and the 3D, 5D, the heaven and earth axes of Virgo-Pisces, and then I did all signs and broke down which axes you're working with, because Virgo is somewhere in your chart, even if it's not your sun, moon, or rising. It occupies in whole sign astrology one house of your chart. And I did a video on that as well. There was something nagging at me that wanted to go deeper. And so I kept tuning in to the feminine. And as I look out, and that's part of my Sagittarian work, is to look out at the field. What is happening here? So if we think back to 2020, and I did the Divine Feminine Summit, that unleashed for so many people these divine feminine archetypes. And then it was like wildfire popping up everywhere, these divine feminine archetypes, working with the archetypes to discover more of our power, more of our beauty, this hidden nature. The reveal was, well, we've been here for 6,000 plus years in a way that has stifled the feminine. And that this is all stuff you know, but we're putting it in context to try to understand today where we're at. And before that, we may have had a matriarchal culture, or maybe we had a culture where the goddess was revered. And then the patriarchal forces, the masculine, low vibrational forces that wanted to control, chose in many, many ways to control the story, to control the body, to control the expression of the feminine. And why did they do that? Because there is so much power in her, so much power in her. And we are being restored to that level of power, but we're still in a patriarchal culture that seems to be even growing. And we know that the darkness expands before the light. And so I think this is our opportunity to reclaim our power in a way that we have not before. And that's really the thesis. And that's what I'm working with here as this transmission comes forward. So listen with your whole body on what you're going to hear about who you get to be, who you actually are, and then who you make choices to be in the world. And Virgo is that integrator. So Virgo rules the sixth house. That doesn't mean she's in your sixth house, but she rules your sixth house. And it integrates houses 1 through 5, that I am consciousness, to being on the earth, to getting stable and grounded in a body, to having a mind and choices, to forming a sense of belonging. And then she steps into that integration of all that she has come from, all that she has prepared herself to be. And then she looks forward, and forward is the houses of partnering with others, of dealing with others, of working with others, of service to others through job, through vocation, through calling, through devotion, being in community until she returns again. So that's the cycle that Virgo is meant to integrate who we are with our sacred service. She is known as the maiden, the medicine woman, the virgin. And virgin in this context is not a celibate or a renunciate or anyone who pushes away the masculine. Instead, it's the antidote to codependency. because she is whole and complete unto herself. That's what virgin means in this context. She is sovereign. I love that because I was sharing with a client the insidious nature of codependency really has us abandon ourselves and our power because we think that our identity, our self-worth, who we are for others lives outside of us. Our service lives outside of us. It becomes like our identity. And instead, Virgo invites us to bring it home. There's nothing more powerful than a woman who knows who she is, than the feminine who knows who she is, who has access to these archetypes, to the ways of being that are mythic power. She has always been the portal to life, the portal to creation, the portal to manifestation. So, of course, if you wanted to be in control and be the most powerful, you would literally have to trick the feminine into believing that they were more powerful than you, meaning you would have to literally trick the feminine into believing that someone else was more powerful. You would have to trick the feminine into not seeing her own power. You would have to trick the feminine into believing that her power and her gifts and her service and her worth lives outside of her. And then you will have to punish her for her innate expression of self, her innate genius, her innate magic, and you will have to squash it and close it down. And so those powers did do that. And indeed, those powers want to do that again. One of my sisters said that this is the time where she wants to be less visible because priestesses go in hiding during this time. Now, I want to make a disclaimer on that because if you're feeling that, you're feeling the witch wound, you're seeing out there, it's not just Afghanistan, it's not just Iran, it's also in the United States. There's a whole Christian national movement that is talking about how women should not have the right to vote, how the vote in the family should belong to the masculine, to the man, thereby eliminating a woman's right to choose who her representatives are, to choose which initiatives are in alignment with her values, and really shrinks her domain to the family, to the children, and gives her a supportive role. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just highly incomplete, and it is not sovereign. So, of course, those threats, those fears, whether you follow it or not, are in the air. They're in the water. They're in the collective unconscious. They're in that shadow band that you can feel. So if you've been feeling worried or stressed or shrinking at your power, wanting to diminish your power, your voice, your freedom, your self-expression, I'm going to encourage you to do the opposite. Now, some people are called to go underground and work underground. I know those priestesses. They may be working with plant medicine. They're doing the work through this word of mouth network that is, and for centuries has survived underground. But there are those of us who are called to be the voice, who are called to be the presence, who are called to remember. All of us are called to remember. There's no one here called not to remember. So we are all called to remember. So your come from place is remembrance. And how you express that, whether you work between the worlds, whether you go underground and you serve the awakening of change agents and others, or whether your role is to grab a microphone, create a YouTube channel, be on Instagram talking about it, whatever it is, you know what your calling is. And if you don't know, then the process to that is a very Virgo process. And we'll get to that in a moment. But we cannot trick ourselves out of remembering that we are the most powerful portal as the feminine, as someone with a womb. Now, the feminine is in men too. And I'm talking about women. I'm talking about the biology of women that allows the energy, the creative life force energy to move through as creative Shakti. Remember, the masculine sits in the place of no thing. The awakened, aware masculine is pure awareness, sits in the space of no thing. The feminine sits in the space of everything, of all things, of this play of form, of this dance. We are creation. And so, whether it is the insidious way that we have described work, I mean, this is a sixth house conversation, and Virgo rules the sixth house. Work being enslavement, working hard is that puritanical view of like what, I mean, somebody said to me, who's a really evolved woman, I work really hard. And I was like, let's change that, because I'm not sure that's the value that you want to embrace. How about I work really smart? I mean, really, let nature do its course. That is a Virgo transmission. She already knows that she just gets to open because her opposite is Pisces. Her medicine is Pisces, which is surrender, which is like open to the vastness of all. Allow that baby to come through your womb space. You don't have to control it. That's the shadow band of Virgo. I need to be perfect. I need to control. So, sisters, I'm really talking to you now about finding that sovereign self that gets you out of a codependent dynamic, whether it is with men or whether it is with your work or how you work, the enslavement of you. It's time to remember. It's time to wake up. This is the most powerful magnetic energy on planet Earth, and the feminine is the embodiment of it. The masculine is embodiment of something else. So when the feminine is the cost of your relating, of your work, of your raising your kids, when you are the cost, nobody wins. Nobody wins. Not in your family, not in your friendship group, not in the collective. So you, sister, get to make it a priority that you are no longer the cost. So what does that really mean? And that's going to go into this next piece, which is process. Like Virgo loves this. So we've got to get into the details. We've got to get into the how, the system, the structure of it. And I was just working with a client today on that. And it was so awesome to take all this stuff and bring the energy in and then structure it in a way that allows the flourishing of her self-expression and our self-expression, our natural leadership, our natural power, our peace, our love, our highest frequency. That's how we do it. It's not harder. It's allowance. There's still strategy. There's still action, but it's very specific. It is not filled. So we're going to talk about the first thing is the not. Everything that's not that has to be removed. It's like what Leonardo da Vinci said when he sculpted the marble for David. All I did was remove that which wasn't David. Our job is to remove that which is not our essence. And I have to say a word of why am I saying this? Because I talked about the cultural political landscape all around the world. There is a choice point along these axes. Who are you going to be? I don't believe that we're here to diminish. We are here to liberate the feminine as she was pre-patriarchy. Now, that doesn't mean we go back to it because we're not there. Our consciousness has evolved. We're not primitive. We're here to integrate it as a new awareness, as an equality that we have not seen yet. And that's what's at stake in the big picture. And then what's at stake for you in your life is how your energy flows. How happy are you? How self-expressed are you? How engaged with meaning are you? So the first step is to remove. It doesn't mean adding on. Any spiritual practice will tell you that the secret is removal, not adding on. And here we are again. We don't need more. We need less. So that really is a call to action to understand what your top 3 priorities are. Because if you don't know how you spend your money, how you spend your time, you won't have any money and you won't have any time. Can you relate to that? That's where overwhelm comes from. We're not here to do it all. Virgo isn't here to do it all. That would be the Pisces. Pisces already knows it is all. Now Virgo is here to live in particularity. So who am I called to be? And you have agency. What are your top 3 priorities? And then you put into action. So we did this inside of a group that I was in, not my group, but I was speaking. And a lot of people's priorities was super vague. Like, I'm going to step into more flow, more love, more light. Great. That's beautiful. And that doesn't mean anything. It's got to be tangible. How will I know that you've accomplished that? Let it be tangible. Let it be measurable. So create for yourself under this frequency of this new moon and during this Virgo period that is asking you to take inventory, take stock, clear and clean away, declutter, remove the excess busyness. It's also what we do in the Northern Hemisphere before we move into winter so that you become more of your essential self. And the only way to do that is through sacred no. And then you move toward those 3 things that are priorities that you're willing to go all in on, that you're willing to actually make happen. These are not magical thinking or desires, or I really hope I can become a millionaire. No, if you really want to, and that's your number 1 priority, then you will discover a system and a business and a process or a way or something that will get you there. But only if you name it and declare it and put your energy behind it. So Virgo is asking us to bring order and purpose to all of that exists within us as who we are, as what spirit through the template of us, our particularity, and then integrate it into the most optimally functioning version of ourselves. Isn't that an incredible call to action? And isn't that incredible that that has the ripple effect of shifting the landscape for the feminine? It really empowers the feminine because you can see that I just make that happen through my intentions and my taking steps, but not through the hunter-gatherer, divide and conquer, eat what you kill, masculine models. I came from them in practicing law, but from a whole different model of simply placing your intention and aligning your will with that which is yours to do and removing all of the rest. That's what we teach inside of the Wise Woman Mastermind. And really, we're not just teaching because those distinctions I just taught you, we're living it and we're practicing the living it with each other. Doors to that won't open until the winter time. So, ping me if you want to be on the list. But really, this is just for you because this Virgo right now is our cosmic reboot. We have an eclipse here. We are going to be asked to step up as the feminine. Part of my work may shift into doing some fundraising for women and girls in war-torn areas. That's part of what's on my heart to bring through. And as I'm contemplating this, I'm understanding that it's imperative that the feminine take her place. We already know that. We said that. But there's tremendous pressure and reminders of the witch wound in the field already because they're scared as fuck of our power. They're scared as fuck that when we unleash this level of creativity, even we don't have control over it, that we can't control, that we are here to be a conduit of that Shakti energy. And when you're functioning at a low shadow band worldview, you want to be in control. You want to be the dominator. And we're a no to that. That's not what's going to happen. But it means that you got to get on your game. You got to get clear with what you are aligned with. That's what Virgo season wants from you as the feminine. I think that's really it. Wow. Okay. So add your commentary. How can you weave with this? How can you flow with this? What else is awakening in you? What else is alive in you when you hear these words? What is it that you're truly committed to giving up? You know, for many, many years, I was under the spiritual impression that making something work was part of my job. And it would be an indicia of my level of personal growth or spiritual growth. And I do not believe that anymore. Now I believe in alignment. And yes, sometimes I have to overcome obstacles to get there, but there's a fundamental yes and flow, not a I have my identity out there. And so therefore I have to manage perceptions or manage how other people do their lives. Instead, I can come home to self because Virgo is the sovereign. So let's rub all this positive energy that we have generated in between the palms of our hands. And this is the unifying force between all the left and the right, the masculine, the feminine, the this and the that. And then let's beam it out as liquid gold light that surrounds the globe with this frequency, with this message that the feminine is here. She is alive. She is well. She remembers. And she will bring balance into the world. And so it is, and so it is, and so it is. And may all beings benefit from the merits of our efforts.